What's going on, people? It's a rainy day. It's only a rainy morning. The vineyards are probably going to be muddy. Most likely. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. On my way to go crawling around some vineyards today. Good morning, T-Rex. Yeah, rain. It's the first rain we've had in a couple of weeks. And thankfully it's going to be cleared out by the time I get up north. I'm going up to Michigan today. Going to visit some vineyards. Some grape vineyards. Wineries, actually. I'm dressed for the occasion, too. Yeah, I'm not a big wine guy. I got some friends that are. They invited me to go, and I'm like, you know what? It's that time of year, fall. It should be cool, but then they called for this last-minute rain. But because the rain is supposed to be out done by like 11:30 at my time or whatever, then it should be okay. Be a little muddy, but whatever. Hey, welcome. Cuddy Salvador and Steven Amaya. What's going on? Where are the... I don't play with Pokemon. You like my stories, Steven? Well, thank you. I got a couple stories. I went live with T-Rex just the other night and hardly anybody came in. Google didn't let it go mainstream. Google, YouTube, they're both owned by Alphabet Company, the controllers of information. But yeah, they didn't let us go mainstream together. They're probably like, you know, the computer algorithm said, oh, we know this guy knows the truth about shit that we don't want people to know, and this guy knows the truth, and they might get together, and a lot of people are going to learn more shit, and we don't want them to learn more shit, so. And that's actually how the algorithms work. They try to limit the information that's available to the mainstream. I do hold my tongue in some things on this just because I don't want to be completely shut down, but you know, I'm just the way I say things and word things to try to keep the algorithms from shutting me down. But I mean, they know, you know, the algorithms, everything we do digitally, every bit of research that we look into, every research and information and data that we publish, it's all being stored. And the algorithms are like, okay, so this guy's a political dissenter that spreads the truth. We're going to limit his exposure to the mainstream. You know, that's what happens. It sucks. But we are living in the days that were prophesied of old, and there's a lot of deception going on. In fact, you know, I was thinking about it because I saw your comment on my channel. I thought that was pretty clever, though, you know. I mean, that's a saying of mine, you know. King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines and peace on every side. It's true. It's true. Today, women, oh yeah, flags are half staffed at the cemetery over here. Oh. Yeah, I have absolutely no affection toward the celebrities of this world. With all the research that I've done, I've learned And it's not a coincidence that hundreds of influential people in the world from all over the spectrum of society have admitted to making a deal with the devil. It's not they're not joking. They're telling the truth. And some don't want to believe that, some do, whatever, but in my research, I have found that it is true. I had some kind of help coming in. It's probably going to be stunt or something. I declined the call, but I don't know how that's going to work out. Let me know if you can hear me. Man, I'm actually surprised the roads are this busy right now. Yeah, YouTube said, oh, hell no. These two? Yep, that's exactly what they said, I'm sure. Hey, what's going on? We know you missed the live stream talking about the Charlie Kyle thing, or whatever his name is. Charlie K something, I don't know. I actually did look into that because I didn't know who he was. I'd seen his face, probably saw a few little small excerpts of him debunking, because YouTube really does promote the influential people that keep people invested into the two-party puppet show. And I guess that was kind of one of the things that I was getting at, was I don't really invest emotion in there, because when you research people's lives, you see that they are interconnected with a lot of high-level people which are associated with secret societies. And they're leading people astray. They're leading people with certain narratives and certain emotionally recruiting narratives that draw people into, like, the two-party puppet show. And they tend to garnish a lot of support in the praises of men, and they are highly esteemed among men. And that is always a red flag regarding, like I say, the actual spirit behind these people. And Jesus put it very simply so that even a 4-year-old could understand it. The things that are highly esteemed among men are abomination unto God. And men, by and large, will hold other men in high esteem. They didn't fly the flags half-staff for the homeless guy that was beat up and killed by the cops in California. Why not? Because he wasn't highly esteemed among men. But they fly the flag half-staff for a man that was contracted with Palantir and given a platform to deceive people. I mean, of course, that's what they're going to do. And whether, and there's speculation as to whether or not he's even dead. I know that a lot of these events are hoax events, such as all of the assassination attempts on the Satanist in chief, among many other things. But I'm not going to, with all the information that I've seen, I don't have enough to conclude yay or nay, but I do have enough to conclude that the whole thing was well orchestrated, and that was the plan. It's interesting, they found him 33 hours after the event. 33 hours they found the guy. Kirk, yeah, that was his name. Yeah, the only reason I even did that live stream was because you, Britt, recommended it. I was thinking about it just to ask questions, and I was like, I really don't know the guy, I don't know enough, but I thought, and then I saw your comment, I'm like, you know what, I will. I'll do a live stream, and I'll just ask questions, and kind of share the little bit that I found out, and it turned out to be probably, I think, the most popular stream I've ever done, because I mentioned Charlie Kirk in the title. 4,500 views or some shit like that. It's crazy. Palantir is the #1 tool of Satan right now. Yeah, I know. And then you see that Charlie Kirk was, funded by Palantir, given his platform, and J.D. Vance, him and J.D. Vance. And then, of course, even though he was critical of Israel, in his criticism, he basically let people know that it's only certain factions, but I support Israel. He was very certain to let people know he supports Israel. Of course he does. Of course he does. They're the ones that gave him his platform. I just think that it's horrible to have shit happen at our schools. Yeah, I have not found one school shooting that ended up being true. I have not found one. Every single one of them had the evidences of orchestration around about it. And it's actually one of the hypotheses that I've come up with as to why, beyond the Second Amendment thing, everybody knows they're using it to try to pull the Second Amendment, but another reason for the schools is because that gives them justification to fortify these prisons to be able to lock down, because right now almost every school in the United States the entire school can be locked down with the press of one button. All of these electronic security doors shut. All the windows are no longer the kind that open up. They're hurricane-proof glass. You can't break through easily or with any tools that you would find in a school setting. And they made them gun-free zones. My suspicion is that there's coming a state of emergency where during a school day, when they're going to lock down all of the schools and hold the children ransom to gain compliance from those who love those kids. The parents, the guardians, the grandparents, aunts, uncles, family members, because there's going to be a major resistance to comply with the orders under the coming state of emergency. That's my hypothesis so far, but yeah, when you search them out and you find out all these kids are saying, yeah, it sounded like a bunch of firecrackers in the hall, pop, 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 pop. Or there's a bunch of common ones it sounded like a bag of chips. Well, here's an interesting fact, that every single one of these school events had prior what they called shooter drills, where they would use firecrackers in the hallways, and they would set off those, they would pop those bags, those puff bags you get with Amazon orders, making these loud concussion sounds, and then they would set the alarms off and everybody take their place in these school drills. Well, interestingly enough, if you let off a AR-15, if you fire an AR-15 outside, where the majority of the frequency of sound is dispersed away from you, if you're not wearing earplugs, your ears are going to be ringing. They're going to be ringing. Now, take that into an enclosed building where you've got concrete and steel lining the walls, where nothing absorbs sounds. And those frequencies are no longer dispersed away from you, but they are bounced directly into every single ear in the area. You are going to have people screaming in pain and complaining about their eardrums, and many that were closer would have bleeding ears. That's why we wear earplugs when we go to the firing range outside. This is inside. Now, anyone that's fired a weapon knows that there's no possible way that it would sound like firecrackers if somebody were doing that. And then the other thing is, how are these people getting into these highly fortified prison facilities with digital cameras? They show us some footage, but they don't show us footage enough to prove the narrative. They show us footage enough to give us the belief that there was a shooter, and that's only been a couple of them where they show a shooter, but they don't really show, you know what I mean? Yeah, inside it hurts bad. It wouldn't sound like firecrackers. It wouldn't sound like somebody popping a bag of chips. Period. And somebody, they're not going to let somebody into a school. Yeah, that one in fucking Texas. What was that one everybody talks about? Uvalde. I mean, come on, dude. The official story is that this fucking lady, I don't remember, teacher or something at the school, literally propped the door open. The guy, this is the official story. She propped the door open on a highly secured school. And then this guy was on, the police were chasing him, and he ran from the, it was a high-speed chase, and they dropped it before he went into the school. And he ended up in a ditch, and then he ran across, in front of the police officers, ran across into the school where the door just happened to be propped open. The whole story reeks of bullshit. And then, immediately, the first thing they did was they set off a perimeter around the place to sanitize the event, and they would not let people in. That's key, because they can't let people discover the truth of what's actually going on, that they had a whole bunch of kids they did a drill that went live, and all the kids are hiding out, and then they came out with crisis actors. I mean, there's so many things to it that if you critically think about what they're telling us, it's 100% bullshit. And that's why it's necessary for them to censor the internet as much as it's censored, so that you can't get the truth out there. They do that, there's so many things about this. Unless you have a suppressor. Yeah, right. I don't know if the chat froze up. I know I'm talking about some sensitive stuff, and I've seen channels completely get wiped out for showing the evidence on their channels. Gone. This channel was deleted because it violated YouTube's community guidelines by showing the actual evidences that actually disprove the official stories. And it's sad, but I think it's an important thing to critically analyze every single thing that we are being fed in the narrative. That's kind of my whole point. There is a great agenda to deceive people. And the Bible says, even Jesus Christ said in the last days, that many would be deceived. Many, not a few, many. And deception's going to abound, and there's going to be all sorts of deception. And the power of the government rises to its level through deception. And so that's all I got to say about that right now. But I noticed all of a sudden I'm no longer in the mainstream. I got like 4 people in here. The algorithms are quick, man. Now they're gonna time me out in my little corner of YouTube for a month or 3 months or whatever it is. But I thought that was cool how I got on the other day, though. Look at everything at every single. Yeah, look at everything at every single one of them. I'm still here just shit at. It's bouncing around. That's hard for me to read. Sorry. I gotta get a new fucking phone holder. This thing, when I got into that accident, something fucked up in it. It's not right. Oh, you're doing shit at the same time. Okay. But yeah, you start talking about that. I went from having like 23 people in here to now 4. It's like, yeah, okay. I see where that's going. So the difference between a false flag and a hoax is a false flag is an event that actually takes place where people are actually injured, and crimes are actually committed and blamed on another, and usually they have like patsies that do that. And a hoax is something that is completely orchestrated, fictional. Like, nobody gets hurt. They have a bunch of, crisis actors that pretend to be hurt and stuff. And, it really is. There's a lot of psychological operations that are out there. After I learned about MK Ultra and Cuban Missile Crisis, I realized this is something they would do. Yeah, yeah. 9/11 was an event that took place. 100%. Those buildings came down and a bunch of people were killed. There's a lot of evidence that shows that the airplanes were superimposed onto all the films that the news media gives us, and that there was no airplane debris at the bottom of the towers before the towers came down. There was one area, interesting enough, that was cordoned off, and they took pictures and put it on they had, like, crime scene tape around it, interestingly enough. And they had this, but they had early pictures before the crime scene was put up that there was absolutely nothing there, and then all of a sudden they got a crime scene tape there, and a single jet engine that's been damaged on the outside of the shell was on the ground there. But the jet engine didn't match the same jet they claimed hit that building, either of those buildings. So there's a lot of, when you look at the details of what they give us, there's a lot of bullshit that's going on. But yeah, those buildings came down. They were 100% controlled demolition. And, people, that's what you call a false flag event. A hoax event would be Sandy Hook. A hoax event. Parkland School. A hoax event. You don't have some guy going in there with 2 assault rifles, a handgun, and 700 rounds of ammunition just walking into a school willy-nilly with not one single video or still image of him all geared up like that. It's bullshit. The whole story is bullshit. Man, I got this fucking semi behind me barreling down as we're coming into a construction zone. I hate that when fucking they do this shit. Oh, fuck. It said turn left. It said lane merging, but it's not. It's not merging. Now I just pissed off the truck driver because he wants to do 180 mile an hour or whatever the fuck he wants to do. And I'm doing 52. I don't like doing that. I don't like getting in the left lane. I'm a right lane driver, 100%. The only time I get in the left lane, which is very rare, is when everybody else is doing less than the speed limit and I want to get going. I do the speed limit, that's all I do. I don't go over the speed limit. Hold on a second, I missed some stuff here. Hopefully you go live later. Yeah, I'm on my way to Vineyards. If I do, it's going to be late because we got like 4 vineyards we're going to stop at least, maybe 5. I got to get shit done. All right, dude. Enjoy the vineyards. Take it easy. Babes, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. They did, but at the very least, the government let it happen. The government was intimately involved in making that happen. Hey, Britt, if you're still here, check your fucking email. Jeez. I sent you like 3 or 4 emails in the last month. Maybe 2 or 3. 2 or 3 emails in the last month and I don't get any response back. Come on. I think on at least one of them I sent you something I need you to look at. Want to say, too, that the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, worked in the Twin Towers, and him and his sister were told to stay home on 9/11. Dude, there's a lot of people that were told to stay home on 9/11, that were supposed to be in those towers. Another interesting thing was there was an insurance company. Was it an insurance company? I don't remember. I'll have to double check. It was a corporation that one of the employees had evidence that there was embezzlement going on from the company, and he was trying to present it to the vice president, and the vice president called a meeting for that man to present the evidence there at the meeting in those Twin Towers that day. And all of the evidence, as well as all the people that were trying to get this, be whistleblowers over this. And then the vice president just happened to not make it to the meeting that day, and all of them were killed. And all of the evidence that they had was destroyed. I mean, people keep telling me they don't believe in conspiracy theories, but I'm kind of wondering, where's the coincidence theories? I mean, when you start investigating these events, there's a lot of coincidences that kind of present, what was it called? Occam's razor? They kind of point toward a specific truth, or the most likely truth, which is that the whole thing was pre-planned. Kind of like I was telling a client of mine, yeah, did you know that State Farm canceled all of their homeowners policies in that area of Los Angeles 3 months before the wildfires last year? In an area that's never been ravaged by wildfires, all of a sudden they canceled all the insurance policies, saving them tens of billions of dollars. That's a coincidence. Wow. I'd like to hear a good coincidence theory on that. But yeah, I mean, that client in particular, man, I've mentioned a few things that she just was like, I can't believe, like, she didn't even want to hear anything about 9/11 other than the official story. People like that, there's two ways to be deceived. Believe what's not true and refuse to believe what is true. And when somebody says, I refuse to believe, stop. Just stop. That's it. I refuse to believe. Okay. You have made the decision that you are going to be the arbiter of what is true in your mind, and you refuse to consider the possibility that you've been deceived. That, hey, that's where you are. I know what the Bible says about people that are in that situation in the last days, and it's not good, but all I can do is pray, and hopefully you'll change your heart before the time. The FBI office was also out of work that day. Oh yeah, all the important people were not killed in that event. And lucky Larry Silverstein, 6 months, or no, it wasn't 6 months, it was a short time before, it was within 6 months before the event, he was the guy that had the lease on all of the buildings, the World Trade Center buildings. He specifically got double indemnity insurance on Towers 1, Towers 2, and Towers 7, Building 7. Double indemnity for terrorist attack. So that he made twice as much money as what it would cost to rebuild these buildings and cover all of his losses in an event of a terrorist attack. And because it was an unlikely thing, it didn't cost him much money at all to get double indemnity. They call him Lucky Larry. Lucky Larry. He just gambled on a guess, right? Come on, people. What the shit? Yeah, I'm just going. I'm going to take it. You got to be aggressive sometimes. I don't like being aggressive on the road. I don't. I am a very considerate driver of other people 95% of the time, but when people aren't letting me in and I have to take a spot, I don't like that, though. I don't like that, but I found that if I don't take it, I could be sitting for 10 to 15 minutes before people fucking open it up. When it's my right of way, that's kind of the key right there. Anyway. Alright, did the chat freeze up? I gotta get... No, it did not freeze up. It's just, I only have one person in here, it says. Is that you, Britt? It could be lying to me, too. Fuck, I didn't have breakfast either. Anyway, Britt, check your email, or, if you will, give me another email address that you get your emails from, because I know you're getting emails from somewhere. I mean, I would imagine. But I sent you something. I don't even remember what it was, but it was important. And I wanted to send you some more information. Things that you can actually look at, because if you Google stuff or Yahoo stuff or DuckDuckGo or fucking Bing, no matter what the search engines are, they hide the information that they don't want you to see. Yeah, we were presented DuckDuckGo as though it's a way to search anonymously without our data being, it's like, yeah, right. They know exactly who we are. From the time we logged into a computer, the IP address, everything is being tracked. Even the dark web, where they claim that it's all anonymous. No, they wouldn't allow that. The whole purpose of the internet is to be able to have a record of everything. They wouldn't allow that. I guarantee that all computer software systems have backdoors in them. All apps have backdoors in them. That no matter what, the powers that be that are collecting the data on you have it for sure. Anyway, I am pulling up to my buddy's house, and we're going to be taking a trip and a bunch of tours today. So, peace.